Good evening, everyone. So, in a world where we see climate change becoming a very big concern, looming economic crisis in countries like Germany and the United Kingdom, military coups happening in countries like Myanmar and West African Saharan countries, all these scenarios are hurdles in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. It is important for us to know how these issues can be resolved in efficient and effective way. And one such way is international aids for restoring a peaceful life and enduring development. Foreign aids can be of utmost importance, like it may be used to achieve a country's diplomatic goals or to relieve suffering caused by natural or man-made disasters such as famine or wars. And to talk about this, we have the most apt person between us, Mrs. Puspa Hargovan. Mrs. Pushpa comes with a very strong background. She did her graduation in BA Social Science from University of Durban, South Africa. She completed her postgraduate diploma in social work from University College Cardiff, United Kingdom. She pursued her master's in social science at University of Bristol, United Kingdom, and was admitted to University of Pennsylvania for PhD programs in medical sociology. So I request you all to please help me welcome ma'am on stage, and I also request our respected VC to felicitate ma'am.
I've not been able to give a presentation because all the information of the work that we did in Meghalaya has all been locked up, and most of it has been handed over to the government after we finish the work. So I'll just tell you from the beginning. Mahatma Gandhi ji became a barrister in London, and a person in South Africa heard about this new person and invited him to fight a case. So here he came with a grand old suit as a British gentleman to South Africa to fight the case, and what happens? He gets kicked off the train in Pietermaritzburg, saying, "You coolie." So he realized, no, it is not. I mean, Britain was ruling India at that time, but he said they don't accept him. So he came for a short time, but he ended up staying 21 years because he fought for the people of South Africa. And he developed a very strong settlement called Phoenix Settlement in my hometown in Durban. Has a wonderful library, and it's in an African area. So when I was in high school, a professor had sent a message that we need volunteers to come and work. There was a flood, and the bridge had broken, and the community was really suffering. So, we were collecting money, and all of us went there to build the bridge. So that was my first community development work that I became aware of. And, what happens in the case of floods or people who are persecuted in countries, refugees, they have to leave countries, people's houses get destroyed, their life changes overnight. It was quite an eye-opener and an education. So after that I continued with whatever work I could do, and basically I'll talk about international aid, how it works. My husband will come to your someday, and he will tell you the real intricacies of it, because he's the main person person who's doing the international bidding for jobs, whatever. I'm more involved with community development work. So what happens is that every government in the world, in fact I think even India government now has set aside a certain budget to help other countries. And so the government decides that there will be a project. They would find out if a country needs help. Like for instance, Afghanistan, the refugee situation. So they decide on the project. And so the money is out there. Then the companies start bidding. There are consulting companies all over the world, and they start bidding for the jobs. They want the money, and they say they can implement the project. So they would also look at professional consultants, and they would contact the consultant and say that we are bidding on this project, and are you interested in the work? So, you know, you show an interest. But in the meantime, it's a lot of companies. What happens is that the companies get shortlisted to 3 companies. And your name may be attached to one company, and you hope that that company wins. And if it wins, then, you know, they will come back to you and say, okay, we have won the project, and are you still available? And then, you know, they would, if you are, you know, agreeable, then they would send a contract to you. And then you look at the contract, and of course you negotiate, you have to look at it very closely. And this is sometimes where the legal issues come in that if it's a USA project, if it's a Washington company, if there's a dispute, who is there to assist you? And, you know, you find that maybe Baltimore courts would have to go. So you learn these things over a period of time. There's always disputes that do come up. So that's how international development work, you know, works, and it continues because, as you know, that the refugee situation is very bad all over the world. The economic situation at the moment has become very bad. As you might have heard about, Pakistan at the moment is in a very bad situation. So the first place that I went to was Peshawar in Pakistan. And when I arrived there were 2 million refugees who had arrived from Afghanistan, because, you know, Russia was in Afghanistan, and they were taken out, and a lot of the people left and came across the border. So there were a lot of organizations working in Peshawar. So one of the organizations that I got involved with was a Danish organization. And they realized that, you know, in the camps, a lot of these families were starving and they needed some income. And they found that the women did excellent embroidery. So they said, why don't we give them the material and give them an income once they make a product. So these are some of the products that were made there. We designed some of the products so that it could be, you know, sold. We had a shop in Peshawar, and it could be sold there, and it could go international, because some of the jackets were a little bit modern type and, you know, whatever. But it's interesting, when we went into the camps, one of the things that was an eye-opener was, you know, we are sensitive about gender issues, and the women are doing the hard work. So when we were going in to hand the money to the women, the men came in front and said, no, you cannot give them the money, you've got to give it to us. And we said, but they did the work. And they said, no, if you don't listen to us, you can leave. Because it's a very male chauvinistic society. So we had to have a big discussion about that, and we decided it's okay, the men are using the money to feed their families. It's not like they're going out clubbing or whatever. So we just had to compromise and give them the money for the hard work that the women did. So, so after in Pakistan it was Peshawar, and then we were in Karachi. It was a mass transportation project, and there was a lot of movement of people. Government was taking over the land and they were rehabilitating them to new areas. So I got involved with a lot of the survey work of, where where are they going to move them, what's going to happen, communities are going to get broken up. That was one of the issues that we had to look at. And so that was in Pakistan, and then we came to India, to Uttar Pradesh. We were in Mirzapur for a few years, and that was Dutch-funded money. It was under the Ganga Action Plan. And I did most of the community development work in going into the communities and finding out. Somebody from the World Bank had come to check the communities. So we saw that, a lot of the sidewalks and all were broken. So we said, okay, we asked them, what do you require? But one of the things is we had 100% funding. We had good big budget, but we decided that we will not give 100% of the money. We need to create an ownership. So what my husband and I devised is that we would do a small grant scheme. So we would say that we would support you 70%, and you as a community collect 30% from everybody. So you are saying that you need the new sidewalk. So you take your money is 30% and ours is 70%. So that's how we did. That's where we introduced a small grant scheme. And it was pretty successful. And it helped, people became involved in the work itself. And they realized that it's their money. So even when the contractors came, they looked at them. And if they found that some material was not good, cement was not good, they would come and tell us that, look, they're not using good quality, it's our money. So that helped a lot. So it was a great lesson for us. And so Mirzapur, we had done we had a lot of young people working in the office, and we did property assessment. What had happened was, in Mirzapur, they were not collecting enough taxes from the people. So sweepers and low-level workers were not being paid. The municipality was bankrupt. So the project that we ended up doing was to show how they can actually get some money. It doesn't mean that they're going to tax from 20 years down the line, but just some amount of money. There are a lot of business people there. And I must say, until now, it still works. UN had recognized it as the best action plan, the work in Mirzapur. They're not very sophisticated people in the municipality. We thought we don't know how long this is going to last, but I still visit now, and I must say that they have updated the data, and they have never been short of paying their workers. So, they've used a lot of the mapping that we had done. And so that was work in, and we had also worked in Ahmedabad. We went to Bangladesh, worked there, Sri Lanka. Afghanistan. Afghanistan was in a very bad situation. It was more like a World Bank thing. What happened is that a lot of the money also that the government had set aside and companies were bidding, at one stage they said that the money should be gathered in either World Bank or Asian Development Bank, and they would contact you and ask you if you're interested in a particular job. So there were some changes that was taking place with that. Then we, from there, we came back to what happened is that usually it's an agreement between the government of the country, maybe the state government, and whoever is giving the aid. So USAID came and said that they would like to do work in India. So they spoke to the central government. I think at that time I think BJP was in power. And they had an agreement and they said we would like you to work in the Northeast, which was quite a novel thing because, a lot of the work never took place in the Northeast. And so they gave us two places, Shillong and Gangtok. And we finally decided that we would be in Shillong, and then we opened an office in Gangtok, so there were people running the thing, and it was a water and sanitation project. So we were, so when we arrived, we had to, it's a three agreement, Government of India, Government of Meghalaya, and Australian government. And we had to learn the system of Meghalaya, because as you will know here, there are Rangbashnongs in each locality. So even though you might go into a locality, you can't just enter the locality and do work. You've got to go through the Rangbashnong, and don't anger Rangbashnong because then they'll never allow you in. So we hired a lot of young graduates in our office, and one of the things we did was we did property assessment, sent them to every piece of property to find out how many people were living, who owns the property. And so it was a big, big project that we did. And then because it was a water and sanitation, we found that a lot of, I ended up working in 55 localities. And we found that a lot of families did not have toilets. They would just go on the side of the mountain and just go to the toilet. So we had to have education process about that you're polluting the water system, and it's important to have a toilet. Even if it's like 4 or 5 families that have one toilet, and septic tank was important. So we had to do a very massive education campaign and go into localities. And we did a small grant scheme. We said, okay, we will fund 70%. You as a community, if it's 5 households, you all collect 30%. We had an engineering department in our office, and 2 guys were from Australia, and they developed a low-cost toilet that you could build in 45 days. So we introduced that. Of course, people were very suspicious. They thought, oh, these outside people are coming, they're going to take our money, and they're not going to do anything, and they're just going to run away. So, but then few of them trusted us, and when they saw that the structure had come up and the work that was going on, then they realized, oh my God, there is a change in the community. And we also had to see a lot of people here have pig pens. So we had to train them that you have to move your pig pens from near the toilet. You've got to move it somewhere else. And that's a bit difficult to tell them, but then anyway, they succeeded in doing that. So, you know, you just had to keep on working. We had interpreters all the time. The young students came with us. We had community meetings, whatever. So it ended up where we built so many toilets and the septic tanks that at the end of the project, there were people coming with checks in our office and we said, sorry, the project is closing now and we can't do it. But one group had come to me. It was called Lasara Self-Help Group from Maulai. And they said, we are like an NGO and we want, we also did solid waste management. Even in Mirzapur, we did it here, big solid waste management schemes. We worked with PHED, with municipality, with the DC's office, with urban affairs. We had to collaborate with all the government offices. And so we built a lot of places, bins everywhere. We gave bins from house to house. We did a pilot project in Jail Road, 100 pipelines, changed all the pipelines, and so that it could be house-to-house connection. We are trying to educate the government that these pipelines, most of them are leaking. They're from the British period, and that the pipelines have to be changed. There's a lot of wastage of water. So the idea of doing this pilot project was, you know, showing that this can work. And so when this Lasara Self-Help Group came to me, they said we would need help buying some three-wheelers. And I said, our project is closing. They said, you know, we want, because the terrain is such that we don't use very hydraulic and highfalutin equipment, because we found that in most places, if you use that and it breaks down, nobody repairs it. So use something local. Like in Mirzapur also, we use rickshaws, which people understand. They can fix it if it breaks down. So these guys wanted rickshaws, and so that it can come up the terrain, collect from house to house. So it means they have to hire people, they have to have money for buying the diesel. So we had to go to the community and talk to them about all this, and that the contribution that they will have to make to get this flowing. And then I had to convince the office in Australia that this was a very feasible project, and maybe if they can find the money to fund it. So finally they said okay, and they funded it. And I must say that that group, I do meet the people until today, and it still works. They have increased their rickshaws, they have bought so many more, and they have hired their people to collect the garbage. And, you know, of course, we also had to tell them that when you dump your garbage at the main site, you will have to pay. It's not free. So, you know, all this education had to go on all the time for the work to go on and for it to be successful. So it was a massive work, and then the property assessment, we actually got 2 kiosks and put it down in the DC's office. So anybody could come there and press a button and look at their properties and what its value is, rates, whatever, they could look at everything. But, Meghalaya is a very sophisticated place. We were really surprised that after we left, they shut a lot of things down. Actually, we did a lot of training. We had a GIS person come from Delhi, and we had the government staff from the secretariat come to our office every day and get a huge, massive training about data collection, updating data. This was something very novel to them, and we found they're sitting in the secretariat, they don't even, each one doesn't have a computer, and 3-4 of them are sitting there playing card games. They're not getting training, so this was our thing about giving them the training. So they're very excited with all this new work that they learned. But then what happened is that once the thing closed down, actually why we had to close down was the government of India changed. And they decided that aid is restricted to 3 countries. US aid, Japan, JICA, and UK. Nobody else can work and give aid. So the Dutch had to leave, the Australians had to leave. So that's the reason that things closed down. But unfortunately, whatever we left behind, we had to hand everything to the government. They shut everything down and they took the kiosks out. So, it didn't, and they took all the bins away from the families, and in fact, years later, they started distributing bins in all the families. So, it was coming back to their thing. It was a big job. That our training ground was Mirzapur. We learnt everything in Mirzapur in 5 years how to do. So it was, we could accomplish things in a shorter period in Meghalaya. But it was just unfortunate that they didn't, the older government people I meet, the municipality head and all of them, they just, talk about that amazing work that was done. And they're so sorry that the new hand did not continue with all this work that was supposed to be done. So, that's basically about the internet. Are there any questions that you want to ask? About aid? Yes.
Ma'am, you said that after you left, all the projects shut down. Is that very specific to aid-based projects, or even say a particular administrator, like a particular DC starts a project, then he leaves, so the project gets shut? Like, is it very specific to the aid-based developmental projects, or even like a person-led projects shut down like that? Which is more sustainable than?
Yeah, in many places it is specific. We find that they tend to shut down with all the work that goes on. But we are surprised in some environments. They're so influenced by what they've learned or changes that have taken place that it continues. And so it can go either way. I have found in development work. In Peshawar, we had the shop, and Dhaka, well-run shop. And what happened? The idea was, there was a Pakistani lady who was the manager, and the idea was to train the Afghan women to become entrepreneurs. And years later, I went to Peshawar, and I met my Pakistani friend, and I said, so what happened to the shop? And she said, you won't believe it. She said, the 2 Afghan girls, finally, I handed the business to them, because the idea was I've got to hand the whole thing to them. They were very well trained. They sold all the stocks, took the money and emigrated to Canada, used the money to emigrate to Canada. So that was the end of the shop. So, but at the same time, while the project was going on, of course, it did feed a lot of families. So you have to look at it in a positive way. In the camps, I was going into each camp and I saw how much they were struggling. where the money is going to come from, where the food is going to come from. So in a way, like, handing the money to them for the work they did, it did feed the families, and some of them were able to send their kids to school. Some of them became entrepreneurs, were able to open small corner shops. So that's the positive side of it. That these small things that happen, that you say, okay, it has helped.
Maybe in that sense, the community ownership plays a better role in
Yes,
the sustainability of the project.
Or to connect it with her question, is it a culture which is plays more role? Is it a culture which plays more role that any particular training program will be, or changes will be continue, or a particular culture who do not want to have a change, they generally shut down all the development projects, all the
Yes and no. I don't think so. Culture has to do with it. It's basically how much of a struggle there is. And if there's a huge struggle, then I think people continue with the work, or they see how they can improve their lives, and that those are the positive of going in and giving a training that they see something with different eyes, and that there is a potential to feed their family or to make some money. I mean, a lot of them open small shops. In Peshawar, I noticed so many small shops. Jewelry shops, there are a lot of jewelry, kitchen equipment and all the Russian stuff. Because Russia was in Afghanistan, it was all in the market in Peshawar. It all came there and they were selling all the stuff. So, but I guess that initially, to get over the hump, it's good when some aid comes in. Because, people at that time are in a very confused state. I mean, you have lost your household, you have lost everything. And just some aid coming in would help you make a start. And then how you use it eventually is up to you. Some instances, governments have been quite, they've had the vision. So they have used the stuff, like in Mirzapur, they used the stuff, and until today, the work still goes on. They still update the data. And that has made it possible for some money in the coffers in the municipality. But here, I don't know, I guess there wasn't that drive. And so it was a different situation which I found.
So, ma'am, as per your analysis, what do you think that is the main reason, adding to what Sir and Pragya has asked, with regard to the project not being continued or the good stuff which started getting stopped? Was it the hindrance coming from the side of the community at large, or was it the hindrance which is coming from the government? Yes, please.
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Ma'am, the discontinuation part which you're talking about, was it because of the lack of support from the government side, or was it the community which was actually not accepting?
No, it was the government side.
Majorly.
The government side. The government, if they saw something, they saw something positive in what was being done. Like I told you, Mirzapur, even we did solid waste management. And we used cycle rickshaws and the three-wheelers. We didn't use modern equipment, no trucks with hydraulic and all that, because we find that never works. And the government saw the potential of that. that this is all local equipment, and so you can just use it
So
to.
ma'am, there too you got the help of the government that in order to encourage, the government encouraged and the project still continues as you're talking.
No, we showed the
Yes.
we had the vision, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we met the government people and we said, this is what we are going to do. Say, for instance, solid waste management or, the small grant scheme. We would have a discussion that that's what we are doing. This is how we're going to go about doing it. And we, they didn't know what was going to happen. And we also went once a month to Lucknow to the state government, and we had to give an outline of what was being done and what is the vision. And I think eventually, because they realized that they could, in fact, the business people were almost going to go out on a protest, because they suddenly thought, oh, we're going to get taxed 20 years behind the line, And the Dutch government contacted us and said, do you think your life is in danger? We said, no. We'll explain to the business people that they're not going to be taxed what they haven't been taxed 20 years ago. It's going to be gradual. That we had to explain to them that the reason we had come to Mirzapur is that the city was bankrupt. And the workers, the lower level workers were not being paid. And so we have to find a way out of it. So then, I think the government realized when they saw the money and that they were able to pay their people, that they saw the positive of the project and they continued with it. But somehow I think Meghalaya didn't see that aspect of it.
So ma'am, that means there is a difference of approach when it comes to accepting the task
Yeah.
which is being done by you.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can we relate this to a particular concept in land laws of Meghalaya? Like if government wants to buy land, they'll have to take permission from communities, local communities.
Can you speak a little louder?
Can we relate this to this scenario that when even government wants to buy the land, the government has to take permission from the community? That's why we see narrow roads and all.
Yeah, no, we didn't. You see, for instance, when we did the solid waste and we put the big bins, we had to meet the Rangbashnongs. We had a lot of meetings with the Rangbashnongs in our office. At least twice a month, they would all gather in our office and we would say, Rangbashnong is very important to convince them. And we said that we would like to have the bins and you give us permission.
They are the head of the community.
Yeah. When you want to live in a locality in Shillong, you've got to get permission from the Rangbashnong first. See, I live in Nongrim Hills, that's a tribal area. I had to go to the Rangbashnong to get permission first to live in the area, so I have documents showing that I'm allowed to. So anything that you want to do, you had to first go to the Rangbashnong, and if they are convinced, then it made life easier. So we were able to get, and we got a lot of support from the DC at that time. He saw the vision of the work, and he also helped come into the community and talk to the Rangbashnongs and say that, look, this is going to help your community. So we were able to get pieces of land to put big dumpsters. But we didn't put toilets and all, it was more community. It was not it was like 5 families. We couldn't put individual toilets. So we said, okay, 4 or 5 families get together. So it was their land, and they said, when they were convinced that this is something that's very positive for them, then they came to the office and they said, yes, we would like this toilet to be built. But of course we said, it can't be just toilet, it has to be septic tank as well. And then we had to train, we had to give a lot of education about that septic tanks are not static, it has to be cleaned every few years. So these were things that we had to keep on. We had all the young graduates and we sent them to all the localities to talk to the people. So it was relatively easy to get if you go through the Nordbashnal.
And ma'am, you also said that when the project stopped, it was because the aid was limited only to 3 countries because Dutch and Australians had backed out. So why so?
Yeah, no, Australia had to close down because the government of India decided that Australians cannot work, cannot invest money here, aid money. So it had to close down. And the Dutch were working in many projects all over India. They had big involvement with the Ganga Action Plan, because the Dutch know about water. And but they took the Dutch out, so a lot of their projects where they're working all over the country had to shut down. And but they were funding like small work on HIV, on health projects, but they were not big international aid projects. But like JICA, Japan, was involved with the road project. USAID has been involved. USAID is still on the books. But now India, saying that India is going out for a lot of aid, giving a lot of aid. They have gone in a big way to Afghanistan and giving aid there and trying to change things in Afghanistan. Now, of course, with this Taliban coming in, I don't know what the situation is. And recently they have gone a lot into Tanzania. I think Mr. Jaishankar went just now, and then another group went to, so the idea is to help with development, because you know the Chinese are going in a big way to Africa. And some of the other countries are trying to climb in to, you know, not make China the primary aid agency. So there's some competition going on, but I can see that India is going quite big into Tanzania. Yeah.
Ma'am, so as you stated that most of the community development program are aided by a particular country, but like after you also...
I can't hear you.
Ma'am, like you stated that most of the community development program are aided by a particular country, but after seeing the failure of their money invested, like the people who like sells their stuffs and flies away to different country, and these are things, the purpose is not generally served of the money they spend. So does it demotivate them to again spend the particular money in the particular country for?
No, I think you cannot say that the purpose is not served, because I think that even if it, you just have to see the positive side of it, in that it does influence the community. They can see, like for instance, when we did this embroidery, okay, they do the embroidery all the time, and for them it's normal. But then they saw the potential for entrepreneurship for their embroidery work. So likewise, you know, it might help with something that they had not thought about before. So I think in some ways it does help. You may not be able to record all the things that have happened, but I think it does. So you just have to see the positive side of it. And then one of the things that I will tell you is that while I've been here in Meghalaya, I have been almost 20 years involved with an NGO called Impulse NGO Network, and we have worked on child trafficking. And one of the things that started the whole thing was the children working, in Chowai, Gentia Hills, people owned their own land, okay, it's tribal land. So they saw that coal was there, so they started digging up, and so now who's going to mine the coals? They are small rat holes, adults cannot enter. So they started getting all the kids, and kids from Nepal, from Bangladesh, from some neighboring places, then Gentia Hills, Khasi Hills, all working there in the coal mine. And these kids, they go from the morning and they come out at night. And we found that there was a distinction in that the kids from the neighboring countries were the ones working inside, and the people outside collecting the coal were the Khasis and the Gentias. So they were like about 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11, 12. Never see the light of day. So, and if there's an accident, and if a kid gets killed, they'll just take the kid out, and there are heaps of coal there, they'll just dump the kid there. So you see, they were not answerable to anybody. Even government of India cannot intervene. So we had a very big support of one of the chief secretaries here, Mr. Ranjan Chatterjee. He used to come and visit us all the time. He became a friend, and then he was one of the prime movers in doing the court, the NGT, the Green Tribunal. And eventually we succeeded in the High Court here in Meghalaya, where they passed the Green Tribunal passed that kids have to be out of the mines and the mines have to close down. It affected a lot of the economy of Meghalaya. There was a big hoo-ha about it. But it still goes on. It's not like it's totally stopped, but in the Gentia Hills it stopped. And what was happening is that the town had become so polluted, the water was so polluted there, that all the people of the areas, they were making tons and tons of money. I mean, trucks full of money. This is the big change in the city of Shillong. Suddenly, all these coal mine barons sent their agents to Shillong, said, go and search out any vacant property you can find, or hand the money to the Khasis. Just take truck full of money, show it to them, and say, we want to buy your property. So they started buying off all the properties, so much so that there were signs in all these neighbors. Khasis realized what's happening, that they are losing out. Because you see, the Khasi society, when they have property, then the daughters don't leave the house. So each daughter gets some place. Now they don't have the place to build, give them a housing. So there were signs coming up, no Gentias allowed to buy property. That's what was happening here. And but we had the Green Tribunal here, where the law stepped in. And I mean, it still carries on. They gave they said that they will have so many years to clear the coal that was already mined. But of course, it's still going on. And how is it that it's taking so long to clear all the coal? So, and we had contacted Government of India people to come and see for themselves what was happening. Not much reaction. So we used a ploy. We said, okay, let's call the international media to come and see. So then the international media started coming one by one. Al Jazeera, New York Times, France 24, all of them came. And we took them on a tour inside to see what was happening. So France 24 did a big series on coal mining and the kids working. That's when the government of India then started sending their people, and then that's when the action of the NGT came up, the Green Tribunal. So, so it's very interesting what was happening, and that is the abuse of tribal land that can go in a bad way. And so is there any questions that any?
So, if I'm not wrong, here the illegal coal minings were used to be done by rat hole mining.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Yes.
used to dig vertical straight holes from like 100 meters or
Yes.
so.
Yeah. And the thing is, because they owned their land, so nobody was able to dictate. And that's what happens in tribal lands. This is what I was living near the Khyber Pass in Peshawar. It was the same situation in the Khyber Pass. The government of Pakistan can't go in there and dictate anything because, the land belongs to them. It's very difficult to rule the area.
And my other question is, why did India decide to stop taking aid from other countries?
The government changed, and it was their new policy. And India has always had this, the Mahatma Gandhi influence of self-reliance. And I think that culture has always been in India. Is just become self-reliant. Don't accept aid from other people. And so I think that was one of the ideas. Because some of the countries, like Bangladesh received a lot of aid, but Bangladesh today is a little bit of a success story in that they have moved way leaps and bounds with textile. Pakistan also received a lot of, but it's not a successful story. They did not become self-reliant. They just lived a lot with the aid money. And that is the bad part of aid. The idea is that the community must become self-reliant and have a vision and surge ahead. And what the situation is at the moment, jump leaps and bounds, then it's a very successful story. But if that doesn't happen, then it's not a successful story. And I have seen in Pakistan that, the aid kept on coming, but they, would just use the aid money, not thinking that it's coming from outside, And in Afghanistan, a little bit of that happened. But Afghanistan did surge ahead. I was in Afghanistan. And I must say that I saw the movement when the Taliban was kicked out. All the people who had run away to France and all these countries, they all started coming back into Kabul city. And they owned quite a bit of the land. They took over their places again, and they started opening nice shops. Ice cream parlors, name it, everything was opening up in Kabul city. And there was a university established, an American university. And, the girls were going to university, they were going, to schools. But, so that, helped. But unfortunately, the Taliban has come in and people have had to close down. And I think a lot of those people have run away, whoever managed to run away. So it's a religious, thing can change things. And in the Muslim world, unfortunately, the religious dictators dictate your lifestyle, so it makes it difficult for the community to surge ahead.
Ma'am, we have seen a surge in development in northeastern area. Is it because of the increasing influence of China in northeastern part of India?
You can see a surge of development in the northeast. No, I think that the BJP has come and focused a lot on the northeast, and they've done the Forest Amendment Act now, so they want to clear a lot of things, and I think there's going to be a lot more mining. I mean, the uranium thing has started a couple of years ago. I had met some of the uranium people coming from central India coming in because they realized there is uranium here somewhere. And the people there started protesting because of the health hazard of mining uranium. Then there were some education programs going on to tell them that it's not a health hazard. And I think there is a big move to start clearing areas and start mining or clearing forest areas and developing the areas. So I think it's coming a lot from central government.
But don't you think the clearing of lands in northeastern parts basically is also because of the refugees which are coming from Bangladesh and all other countries besides us? There is a mining and clearing of forest in India because of government of India also. They are finding new ways to attach northeast to the mainland or the mining stuffs. But it is also the impact of the refugees which are coming from other countries, and they are also disturbing the legal aid which are to be officially provided to the communities of the northeastern states. What are your views on that?
No, I don't know how much legal aid people are getting. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think it's got a lot to do with refugees. I think big corporations are now looking at the potential in the Northeast. Like example, Adani Group. They're looking at the potential in the Northeast. And so there is a massive movement to show that now Northeast is the focal point in India, and how do we make massive changes. So in another 40, 50 years, I think there'll probably be massive changes here in this part of the world. I mean, Arunachal Pradesh, I don't know whether anybody's been to Arunachal Pradesh. It is filled with forests and natural land. And they started the big dam projects. So what happened? They had to clear a lot of the land. Communities were pushed out. And so the process has started. And it probably is going to go on, I think. And I think major corporations are looking at the potential of the Northeast and what's available here. And eventually what they're talking about is scientific coal mining. So coal mining hasn't stopped. It's going to happen, and that they will do, the government here is looking at, developing scientific coal mining. So, that might become a huge thing eventually. And Bangladesh is dependent on all the coal that goes from here. truck full of coal was going across. At the moment, the coal has stopped and stone is going across. Lots of stone. So you can see all these mountainsides are being, you travel and you see mountainsides are getting destroyed because all the stone is going across. Bangladesh doesn't have, they're building houses, they don't have stone. So it's a huge potential for stone. So you go to Daki border, just stand there and see how many trucks are going across. Anything else, Tatya?
And as the government of India is focusing right now is focusing on northeast states by introducing a policy, Act East policy. Like they are seeking that northeast has a immense potential. But could you please tell me how Act East policy is helping to northeast?
Well, I think Act's policies I talked about it a long time ago. I actually went to the NEHU and NEC when they had the big discussion on the Act's policy, but I think it's very slow. Very slow. And you can see the Dauki road is very slow in coming up. The contractors each time leave and somebody else comes up. So I think it's very, very slow. It might eventually happen. I mean, the idea is that you'll be able to go by road right up to Bangkok. But whether that finally happens is going to be interesting. And I think at the moment India is probably concentrating on China and Arunachal Pradesh because it has a big problem with the border areas in Arunachal.
I'm just asking a random question. Where did you, from where did you bought this? I really like this stuff.
Sorry?
Please tell me. This.
No, these are the refugees.
Yeah. Can you pass it around? You can have a look. This is the fabric we would give them. And this is all, this embroidery is all hand done. And you'll see the tag saying Dakar. That was the name of our business, Dakar.
What does Dakar mean?
I've forgotten now. It's been a long time ago. But I'm sure it was an acronym for some. I think development aid, something. The Danish probably. The Danish were giving the money for this, and then they established the shop. They had to have a label, so they created the label. And this is all, the embroidery is all hand done. It's very fine, intricate embroidery. Very fine, intricate embroidery when you look at it.
And from where can we buy these?
Yes,
But these are the pieces that still remain with me. It's so beautiful, yeah, beautiful work. But unfortunately, can't buy it anymore. Sorry? No, you have to start another project to get them back. The shop is shut down. You got to get them moving again, because we had established a market in Singapore, so the products could go to Singapore, to a couple of the other countries. And we even had sheepskin coats. I didn't carry my sheepskin coat because it was quite heavy, and they did the embroidery on the sheepskin coats. And that was also very impressive.
Pashmina.
Sorry?
Pashmina.
No, this is wool from Pakistan. There's a place, I forget the name of the town now, very well known for wool. And so we used to get the fabric from them. And then of course, sheepskin is very common in Afghanistan. So, you get a lot of coats, jackets, short jackets with the sheepskin. And so what we did is we made them do embroidery on it to make it look more presentable. So we sold a lot of that. And there were a lot of Western people working in Peshawar at that time. They were either working in Afghanistan or in Peshawar. So we did a lot of Christmas products as well. And they bought, Christmas time in a market, and they bought a lot of the products.
So your bracelet is also very beautiful.
Oh, this is from Mizoram. Yeah, this is all from Mizoram. I was in Aizawl last week, but whichever country I have been in, I always like the local stuff from there. So I have a big collection of things. Last night I had dinner with the NEC secretary, and I had a South African jewelry on. That was made by a community from my hometown, Zulu, the Zulu group. And we have also in the Imports NGO, we have the non-profit section, but we have a for-profit section. We have about 30,000 villages in Assam, Aizawl, Arunachal, and they also do very good weaving. So they are doing the weaving, and we have table mats, runners, computer bags, different products which we are selling so that these women who are refugees, a lot of them refugees who come, okay, or women in these villages, because they don't have enough of an income, they would want to move to the cities to find a job or to, support their families. So the idea being that we give them a regular income, that they stay in the villages and do this work. So that's a type of employment scheme that we have developed. So that has helped, I guess, a lot of families. And some of the refugees that have come from Myanmar. Anything else that anybody wants to ask?
So basically, my home state is Jharkhand, and there is one of the India's most producing coal city, that is also known as the coal capital of India, like Dhanbad. So,
Where?
Dhanbad.
Denmark.
Not
Oh,
Dhanbad.
Dhanbad. Yes, the coal capital, yeah. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold and things, so I can't hear so well. I'm freezing, yeah.
So, ma'am, in Dhanbad there is a place named Jharia where the coal
Yes.
is burning.
Yes, I
And the
know.
mines are still operating. So there are many children who are imposed to work there, and they even die because of the heat.
Yes,
So
yes.
how all these problems we can address as a law student for now? Like, can we do something about it by relating to any NGOs for now?
Yeah, you can do an awareness campaign. You can do some research, what's happening, get some data, how many children are involved, and put it in the papers. So people would become aware that this is what is happening, or put it on international media. Today media, you can put anything, but you've got to get facts and figures. One of the things that through the Impulse NGO that we did was we sent people out to see how many kids are involved, because we know kids are involved, but then we have to have figures. So eventually we came up with a figure of 70,000 So by giving that, it helped, people saying, what, 70,000 children in the mines? What's happening? And so, and the media was talking about this or putting it in the international media or in, we had it in some of the newspapers here. And that helped in people waking up and saying, okay, we've got to do something about it. So that's one of the ways to do it. But you've got to try and get the figures. How many kids? I know Dunbar, I passed Dunbar and I've seen the fires there.
So ma'am, recently it was 1.5 months back the news came that a 7-year-old child was involved in the coal mining and he passed away because of the heat he could not handle. This is just one news which came and there are many news which are not even
they're not even, yeah, I'm sure there are many, many more deaths. Like I say here, people didn't even know. Person slips underneath, and you see, if you saw we went so many times underneath, the stairs were made so ad hoc, that when it rains, it is so slippery. And so a kid might just be going down, slips, falls, and dies. Then what they do is they just take the kid and dump it on the heap. Nobody questions. So since we had seen all this, then we told them that, look, this is what is happening. And got the media to come and check it out. Then some later, it took a long time, it didn't happen overnight, it took a long time, but then eventually some action took place with the court coming in and the Green Tribunal was formed. And they're still making a noise, the Green Tribunal, that we had banned this thing here, why is coal still going? If you see in the papers, there's always this thing about coal, and some people have opened coal places, they're shutting them down at the moment. Those are illegal places as well. So I hope this was informative for you and interesting.
Yes, sir.
And if any of you decide to go into international development work, it's not all negative. It is, there's a lot of positive. You've got to really believe in what you are doing. That's the main thing. If you really believe in it, you will get some satisfaction. And I just love going into communities and talking to people. So for me, it's been very interesting work and very productive. And I think even in Meghalaya, when I look at the 55 localities, I think we made a huge difference. I still meet the people today on the street, and they say, we're sorry, so sorry that this project closed down, but look, we still have that water tank, we still have the toilet, and we still have this. And it's very satisfying that they are still appreciated some of the work that was done. Even the Rangvashnongs, a lot of them have passed away, but I do meet some of them, I bump into them, and they say, oh, we remember the work and how much work we did, and it made such a big difference to our community. To hear that is very good. And one of the things that we even tried is every locality has the Rangvashnong, okay? And they collect money from the people. But we found that nothing was recorded. So we told them that we will train you and send accountants to you to learn an accounting system and record all the money that comes to you so you know what you can use it for and what you are using and how much you have left. my God, to convince some of them was very tough. But some Ranpashnons were very forward-looking. And they came and they said, yes, we would like to learn. And I remember particularly Umpling Ranpashnon, Pariat guy. He really was very, very interested. The first time ever they were recording and doing an accounting system of all the money they were collecting. This is a big flaw here. You know, everything is ad hoc.
So you have many things to do. Right from social entrepreneurship to fight as an NGO to make a change in the ground, to fix the governance process, to fix the institutions, to upgrade the institutions.
And I've also been, have you all heard of the Shillong Chamber Choir?
Yes.
I've been with them for about 18 years. From the very beginning, when they were really young, no talent, and the maestro, I mean, a lot of them are poor kids from poor families. They just came to the door, knocked on the door and said that we want to sing. And the maestro, they all lived together in one house. He disciplined them, trained them, and brought them up to such a level that today they are world famous. Yeah. They're performing at G20 tomorrow. Yes. So it was a huge, I can tell you stories about how from the beginning when there nothing, from nothing to come up to such a high level. It truly is amazing, it's mind-boggling.
And when you went to Afghanistan, was the experience smooth or you had to face some rats too?
Somewhat.
Some rats. Afghanistan militants were there now.
I didn't get that last word, somewhat.
Wrath, W-R-A-T-H.
Rat.
Oh, rot. Okay. No, not really. No. My husband speaks Pashto and Dari. So for him it's easy to maneuver. I don't speak the languages, but you know, they just think I'm a local. So that helped in a way, but not really. Even in Pakistan, interesting, never faced any problems of, I mean, they could have said, oh, you're from India or something, and would have, but they never asked me, and with my name Pushpa, they know that I'm not, Muslim. But no, fortunately didn't face any problems with anybody. The only time I really became aware of India-Pakistan relationship is when we were in Karachi. The World Bank team came and we had a big meeting. And a lady from India came. And she was sitting there at the meeting, so in the evening we say, okay, let's go and have dinner somewhere, whatever. So we're walking, and suddenly I'm telling my husband, I feel like somebody's following us. He said, well, don't worry, the agents, because she's from India. So they already know, you see. And so we were being followed everywhere. So the suspicion between India and Pakistan, that's when first time ever I noticed it. But no, it is in most of these places we didn't really face any antagonism. Communities were very cooperative in most places. And I think it's the attitude that you go with is very important. If you go with an antagonistic attitude, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you make them feel like you are superior and they're inferior, then you won't get anywhere. You just got to understand what you've come for, and with that understanding, they would cooperate with the work that you have come to do. So, okay.
So I just want to extend a a lot of gratitude to Pushpa ma'am for coming here and talking to our students today. It was a great session and it was very interesting actually listening to your experiences from all around the globe. So I hope the students also were able to take a lot from this session. Thank you so much ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure contributing. And good luck to all your students. I believe you've come from all over India. So, and come in a completely different culture, but I think you will learn a lot in this environment, as I have learned over a period of time.